Did you know that if you polled a group of teens, that 87% of them in North Carolina say that underage drinking is a problem? 50% of those teens say that it's a serious problem. The state of North Carolina is really not the solution to the underage drinking problem. The solution to we can slow down the drinking problem by enforcement, putting out banners, whatever, and trying to combat underage drinking, but the parents make the most impact. Parents must get informed, engaged, and involved when it comes to underage drinking. It's kind of like if you're going to buy a new car, you do a lot of research, and you want to know what it has to offer. Well, when it comes to drinking, parents need to do more research. They need to see what the trends are and what's out there. So they need to become, like I said, informed, engaged, and involved. I've got some pretty mind-blowing facts about underage drinking. There was a study done. The average first-time drinker is about 14 years old. So at 14 years old, most kids take their first drink. 38% of 8th graders say that they've tried alcohol at some point. 38%. 10% of 12-year-olds say they've drank at some point in their life. So 10%, it's a low number, but it's still a high number. 50% of 15-year-old kids say they've tried alcohol. 50% of 15-year-olds. You know any 15-year-olds? We'll talk a little bit about the impact of underage drinking. More teens die of alcohol than any other illegal drug in the United States. Alcohol is the #1 killer of teens. 1/3 of the teens who die in car accidents is due to underage drinking in North Carolina. So one third of the teens who die in traffic collisions in North Carolina is due to underage drinking. A 2009 study showed that underage drinking resulted in 60 murders. This is North Carolina. 27,000 violent crimes, 67,000 property crimes. Those are high numbers. During the research, we found that 2 people die every week in North Carolina from underage drinking. So it's like, what does that add up to? That's way over 100 a year, just underage drinking alone. And we'll talk a little bit about the development of the brain in the teenager. A lot of teenagers say, I don't understand why I have to wait till I'm 21 to drink. Why can't I drink when I'm 18? They say the law says when I'm 18, technically I'm an adult. Well, the development process of the brain in a teenager, when you add alcohol to it, it slows it down. So it slows down the brain activity. Alcohol in the system has a negative effect for up to 2 weeks. So in a teenager, when they drink, it's not just over the next day. It has an effect for 2 weeks. Memory loss occurs. So in your teens and you're already having memory loss, it's usually from drinking. Alcohol has a lot of negative effects on the brain. It impacts your good judgment and impulsive decision making. So we talked about the crimes earlier. I could pretty much guarantee you that most of that's impulsive decision making from the alcohol because the brain's not developed. This is a visual that I have. I have it in a PowerPoint as well. But this is a teenager's, this is a brain from a 21-year-old. Over here you have the non-drinker's brain. And over here you have the heavy drinker's brain. The non-drinker's brain, I can describe it to you, as it kind of looks like the sun. When the sun's out and it's bright, you really can't see anything. It's kind of smooth. And then you go over here to a heavy drinker's brain, and you've ever seen the moon at night? Sometimes you can see the craters inside in the moon. Well, that's pretty much what the heavy drinker's brain looks like. And this is a 4-year effect. This is from age 17 to 21. So that's only 4 years. And the brain is already starting to deform from alcohol. So that's pretty scary, actually. think that. Parents are not exempt from the consequences of underage drinking. There's 2 landmark cases in North Carolina that I'm going to talk to you about. One of those cases is a Raleigh case. It was a wedding, and the couple that was getting married hosted a party, had friends over, typical wedding party. Well, the wedding party's friend, their son, was at the party. He was underage, and he had another friend that was there. Well, they allowed him to drink. Well, after that, he left the party, took off in his car, had a wreck, killed another teenager. The Raleigh Police Department went over and arrested the wedding party for the contributing to the death of the young man. The second landmark case is out of Transylvania County, and it was a mother who, her son, had a friend come over, and she allowed them to go into the basement under the house thinking that it was safe, they could go down there, and she allowed them to drink. Well, the next morning, she goes down there, the friend's dead. Her son's buddy's dead. They charged her with involuntary manslaughter, and actually, that case is still pending. So she was actually charged with involuntary manslaughter for allowing them to go down there and drink. And the young man ended up dying from alcohol poisoning. So, the bottom line is teens are not biologically able to make decisions under the influence of alcohol. The brain's not fully developed. It's 84% of teens that do drink. They want to talk to their parents about their drinking problem, but they're scared. They don't want to approach their parents because, the repercussions, their parents may get mad at them. But 84%, during a poll, 84% of teens would love to talk to their parents about drinking. 60% of parents feel they're not prepared for the conversation. They don't feel that they're ready to talk to their kids about underage drinking because it's like some type of denial. They don't want to believe it. So here's where the state comes in. It's basically education for the parents. In your hand you have a brochure, and in the brochure it covers, it's called Talk They Hear You, and inside the brochure, the one topic is start early, what you can do, and the serious consequences. It covers a lot of information to kind of get you started to talking to a teen about underage drinking. There's some tips for parents that during research we found, by the age of 8 years old, you should already start laying the foundation about drinking. 8 years old, that's early, but 8 years old is when you should start talking to them about drinking. And you need to keep talking to them about drinking, and you have to kind of reinforce that. Because as they get older, you gotta tactfully change the conversation because they're going to mature, and you need to know how to talk to them so they can understand where you're coming from. Don't just say no. That's definitely not the answer, because if your parents just tell you no, or a parent just says no, and they don't have a reason why they say no, well, you don't really fully understand. So no is not an acceptable answer. No with an explanation is really the answer. You need to be honest. If you have this conversation with someone, you need to be caring, and you need to establish the rules. If you're a parent, you need to show disapproval. That you don't want them to drink, but you want to be concerned. You want to show disapproval, but you also want to show them that you're concerned, and you want them to know that you're worried about their happiness. You want them to be happy. But if they start a life of alcoholism, that's just a road to nowhere. You're a good source of information if you're a parent, because you've kind of been there. You've already established that groundwork. You need to pay attention to different signs, especially if you have a teen, or a young adult if their behavior changes. You know, you can pick up on behavior changes. You know what your kids do, or you know the pattern of a teen, and then all of a sudden it just completely changes. When that behavior changes, it's kind of like a sign. It's a red flag. Something's up. You need to figure out what the problem is, what's going on. There was a quote, and through research, it found that children, if a child can make it to the age of 21, not smoke, not abuse alcohol or drugs, they're certain to never do so.